Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu wa-salamu ala Rasulillah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathiran. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Before we commence tonight's Q&A session, we'll follow our traditions and obey our rules with regards to trying to expand the HD culture and introducing different books and different works to the viewers and the watchers. We have a very interesting book tonight in light of the month of February, which many people call and say is Black History Month. Black History Month. Now, before everyone jumps out of their seats and gets their shorts in a twist, we'll say, okay, right? Before people start posting and going ham in the comments, the concept of saying what the people say is not an impermissible thing. Okay, that's first and foremost. Saying what the people say. And the concept of the conspiracy behind the whole idea of a Black History Month. Why is there a month dedicated to a race or nation or color of people? Why is this month considered to be, or is the shortest month out of the year? Is that a good thing? Meaning that it's a special month, it's unique? Or is that a bad thing, a negative thing, meaning that we'll give you some type of celebration, but in actuality it's mockery and humiliation, because February is the shortest month of the year. And out of all of the months that could have been picked and selected, we'll give you the 28-day month, right? Like many people say with regards to the coins, the dimes, the quarters, the nickels, and of course we have the 50-cent piece, we have the silver dollar, and we have the penny. And Abraham Lincoln being the only coin that is of another material, copper, coincidentally or accidentally brown. And his face is facing the opposite direction of the Washingtons and the other presidents upon the other coins. There's a story behind that. And there are different theories with regards to that. And because a thing is short or a thing is different, it's not always necessarily a bad thing. But sometimes it's a means of uniqueness and a person sticking out, even if it means that they have the shorter end of the stick. Because if you have the longer end of the stick, it's nothing special or unique about that. So, with regards to Black History Month, the plight of black people in the United States and in the world, not just in the United States, but many, many countries, South Africa, apartheid, Europe and its different colonies, and the list goes on, and other countries that aren't necessarily African or black, but the indigenous people have dark skin. And that's a big, widespread misconception with regards to a color. And calling someone black versus African or African American. And there are people from the Far East, from India, China, Malaysia, Philippines, Australia, around the world, Japan. Many people say the indigenous inhabitants of the islands of Japan had very dark skin, which will call a person black. Okay? So that's a very, very long discussion in itself. What's important is they made a month to commemorate or to celebrate or to praise a people who are called black. Why did they make that month? What's the purpose of that month? What is the stance and the position of Muslims towards this month? Do we Muslims have a specific holiday besides Al-Fitr and Al-Adha and Al-Jumu'ah? Do we take pride in a nation, a race, an ethnicity, a lineage, and a heritage? And most importantly, why and how did this month come about? And why was there even a need for one race to be singled out with an entire month of celebration? With regards to inventors, with regards to pioneers, with regards to civil rights activists, with regards to scientists, explorers, boxing champions, Olympic sprinters, astronauts, supreme chief or court judges in the Supreme Court, etc. We all know the different stories about the different people and the concept of inventions and how many daily inventions that people use, in which many people say the inventor and the founder or the one who patented the thing that is critical to your daily life was a black person. And in most cases, someone that was an American, and oftentimes someone that has the lineage of a slave, or someone that was manumitted from slavery, or their grandmother or grandfather was manumitted from slavery. And some of the groundbreaking things that were discovered by these people, such as George Washington Carver, and the concept of the peanut, and what it did for the soil, for the agriculture, for the system of food, and how cotton and rice and other crops in the south depleted the soil. And by Allah Azza wa Jall's permission, through his revolutionary tactics and techniques, he literally changed the game. And that's why he received a award from the President of the United States at the time, at the height of the Jim Crow movement, and the height of the lack of civil rights, etc. And then we have the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his legacy that the people live in today, to this day, live in his shade to this day, this very day. Whether you come from the Caribbean, whether you come from Pakistan, wherever you come from, if you're living in the United States, and around the world as well, but specifically the United States, there's no doubt you're benefiting from his legacy. And of course, you can't forget your Malcolm X's and your Frederick Douglass. You can't forget the Jesse Owens, the Joe Lewis's, all right, the people, and the list goes on with regards to sports, science, poetry, and the list goes on and on and on. Why did they even make a month for these people? What was the cause? Why did they feel that they needed to give them a special month and mentioning their accolades and what they had accomplished? This is going to be, and Allah knows best, you can find the answer to this question, or these questions and a few more in this book. And that is Illuminating the Darkness, the Virtues of Blacks and Abyssinians by Al-Allama Abu al-Faraj Ibn al-Jawzi, died 597 or 1200. Tanweer al-Ghabash fi Fadl al-Sudani wal-Habash. Tanweer al-Ghabash fi Fadl al-Sudani wal-Habash. I got this book actually when we were, Hyde Park. We were in the UK. That historic day. We went to the park. We had those little debates, those little quick skirmishes, those fights. The people that were in the park, the challenges that were made, the people that ran, whatever happened in the park that day, right? Whatever took place in the park that day. And as we were walking off, it was me, Al-Amin, Abu Sa'id, Nuruddin, Abu Isa, the brothers, we were walking off. Abdul Latif was there, if I'm not mistaken. I think Muhammad was there. Maybe he went to go get the car, if I'm not mistaken. A brother walked up to me, a random brother. And he said, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. He says, I watch your videos. I'm a disciple, blah, 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 blah. I want you to take a gift from me. And he handed me 2 books. And this was one of those 2 books. Walillahi alhamd. The book is well known in Arabic. It's well known. Alhamdulillah, I was totally unaware that there was a translation to the book. And that the book was available in the English language. And quite honestly, from looking into the book and through the book, the translation is very well put together. It's very well put together. Walillahi alhamd. Very well put together. So it was pleasing to get anything for free. We love free things. To get a gift. And to get a gift of knowledge, you can't get better than that. You can't do better than that. Someone, a stranger, walking up to you, handing you information, beneficial information, a classical work of a great hadith scholar. So, with regards to what people call nationalism, or black supremacism, or Pan-African movement, and all of those things, and cause and titles, the Nation of Islam, the Fruits of Islam, so on and so on and so forth, 5 percenters, the list goes on, Hebrew Israelites, right? The list goes on. Of course, it's well known that we don't represent, stand for, abide by, adhere to, or condone any foolishness or nonsense, anything that goes against the teachings of the Kitab and the Sunnah. So that's not even on the what? The table of discussion. And if you think that or feel that or say that and watching Hadith Disciple, you're definitely in the wrong place. And of course, the proof is in the pudding, and actions speak louder than words. Actions what? They speak louder than words. However, that does not deny the fact that we have a book in our hands. And there was a reason why he wrote this book. Why a scholar from Baghdad chose to write about the virtue of black people and the virtue of Abyssinians. And I think that that's very appropriate with regards to Black History Month. And we know that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, in the Muqaddimah, the introduction of Sahih Muslim, she's quoted to have said, Umirna an nunazzila an-nasa manazilahum. It is Rubiya anha that she says, we have been commanded to give the people their due status. We've been commanded to give the people their due status. Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet's uncle, that great valiant warrior, that lion, we know, was one of the people that supported the Muslims and gave the Muslims strength and power and might, right? And we know that he was martyred on the day of Uhud. And he was killed, and his body was stripped bare and mutilated. And the one who covered up his body took off his own garments, his own clothes to cover Hamza radiallahu anhu was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Ra'sul Munafiqeen fil Medina, the top hypocrite, the chief zindiq, the chief heretic. So when the Prophet ﷺ heard of his death later on, and his son obviously was a Muslim, was not a munafiq, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ took off his qamis and he gave it to the son. And he told his son to do what? To put it on his father. Even though he was a munafiq, the head of the munafiqeen, and he was one who harmed the Prophet, harmed the companions, annoyed the Prophet, so on and so forth, made so much controversy, helping the kuffar, the Jews of Medina, the mushriks of Mecca against the Prophet ﷺ. But the Prophet never forgot the what? The favor. That's the shahid. He never forgot the favor, even to a kafir. So with that being said, if you live in the United States, if you live in Canada or the UK, but specifically the United States, you cannot ignore Black History Month. You cannot act like it doesn't exist. You cannot act like that you have not benefited from the efforts of many people that were black, whether you like them or whether you dislike them, whether they were Muslim or whether they were Christian or whether they were Freemasons or whatever other religion or spirituality that they had. That's a qaida. Everybody understand this or not? That's a principle right there. Let alone the fact that many people who came to this country, whether they were traders or explorers, whether they were warriors, whether they were kings, whether they were slaves or slavers, many of them were Muslim. Many of them were Muslim. And of course, Dr. Gerald Dirks, he has several books, and one of them he talks about the hidden history of Islam in America and the forgotten history of Islam in America, and how many people say you being a Muslim is a new thing, or your Christian grandmother, she says, well, you're forgetting the way of your family. Okay, the Arabs is good, the Muslims are good, blah blah blah, but what about us? We're Baptists, we're Christians. Don't abandon your family. Don't forget your forefathers that suffered for freedom, that fought for civil rights. And if you don't know that many of those people who fought for their civil rights, many of those people who were against oppression and tyranny were Muslim. They were Muslim, who knew the Quran, Muslim scholars. They were Muslim mujahideen, they were warriors from among those slaves, all right, from the different countries such as Liberia, Ghana, West Coast, the Gold Coast. And it was one of the capital mistakes that some of those slave traders from Europe had made. And they didn't realize that the chieftains that they dealt with in those African countries wanted gold, wanted guns, and wanted liquor. And they didn't care how they got those things. And oftentimes they sold them captives of war. They sold them slaves, not that were just poor, weak, beat down slaves, but were what? Warriors. They had a great deal of military skill and of course a great deal of pride. And a warrior is just not going to lay down that simply and just be ran over by someone who has bought him or purchased him. So we talk about the civil rights movement way before the 60s and the 50s, way before all of that. It started off with the different slaves that had resisted and rebelled and fought back against the wrong and the oppression that was being done to them in the name of Christianity, in the name of white supremacy, in the name of God being made in the form of Christ, so on and so on and so on and so forth. And many of those warriors came from those countries. And many of those warriors were Muslim. Many of them were Muslim. And of course we know, unfortunately, that many of those Muslim slaves didn't last. And they didn't make it. They were forced through utter and sheer violence to renounce Islam, to accept Christianity, or their version of whatever Christianity is, what they're saying, not the way of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, to eat the flesh of swine and to commit zina and to do those other harmful atrocities, and the list goes on. And alhamdulillah, only Allah knows the Muslims that kept their faith and that hid their faith despite what they had to say off of their what? Off of their tongues. So we're talking about the history of the United States, which everybody should learn about, especially if you're a Muslim, and especially if you're an immigrant to the United States, or if your mother and father migrated to the United States. You should learn the American history. You should learn how things are, why they are. The president of the United States today, why is he even saying, "Make America great again"? So it's history behind that statement, and it's a great deal of weight behind that statement and what's meant by that statement. We talk about people that come from Mexico or Cuba or Haiti or Dominican Republic or other countries. They may come legally or illegally. It's a reason why. And it's a reason why people are poor. And it's a reason why people have a great deal of problems with regards to drugs and violence and gangs. So let's talk away from black people. Let's talk about the West Coast. We talk about California, all right? And we talk about Las Vegas. We talk about Arizona. We talk about these places in the far west, and the list goes on. People, it's easy to say, oh, these Mexican people, they're just gang members. All they do is kill each other. They shoot guns. They ride around and they just shoot people and kill people. They drink alcohol, and that's it. They're backwards people. They're degenerate people. They're low people, and the list goes on. Why are so many people associated with gangs? Movies like Blood In and Blood Out, so on and so forth. It's a history behind that. And if you read and if you study the history of the United States, you find that many of those Mexican people were wronged and they were oppressed by white settlers. They were done wrong by the United States Army. And many of them, after the United States-Mexican War, they became United States citizens overnight without any warning. And if you read the history of your country, the history of this nation, my country, my nation that we all live in, we all benefit from, we're all Americans, you'll find that there were many states that were never ever part of the United States. And they were taken through war, through purchase, or just sheer force. And included in that is Texas and Mexico. And that is one of the reasons why I have so many people in the United States that are from Mexico or Central America, and the list goes on, unwillingly. And of course, the lack of equal opportunity and the lack of equal positioning with regards to school, with regards to healthcare. All of these things, they play a role in why people are poor, or why people are in gangs, or why people are in violence. All right? So read your history. That's the only point that we're trying to get across, is read your history. And when you read your history, it's going to make you a better Muslim. And it's going to allow you to understand the Quran in a more thorough manner, because you understand what Allah is saying when He talks about dhulm and zalimeen and وَيَمْكُرُونَ, they make a plot. وَإِنْ كَانَ مَكْرُهُمْ, Allah says that their plot could be so severe that the mountains will go away. You find a manifestation of these verses and why people will go to paradise and why people go to the fire of hell, because of dhulm, because of oppression, and the reasons behind this. And Allah surely knows best. So, the author, first and foremost, we have the translator's note. All right, the translator, he talks about Ibn al-Jawzi, right? His virtue. Alhamdulillah, we did a biography of Ibn al-Jawzi a few years back in Toronto at the Sound Heart Conference. We spoke about Ibn al-Jawzi from the scholars of the 6th century. Ibn al-Jawzi, he mentions his introduction, and this is the only thing that we'll read, perhaps. It says, or maybe we'll read some other things in the time that we have. It says, Alhamdulillah alladhi ikhtara min jami' al-makhluqat al-insan. ثم اصطفى منه أهل التقى والإيمان ثم جعل محل نظره القلوب لا الأبدان وينظر إلى صفاء الأسرار لا إلى نقاء الألوان وتبين الآدميين فمنهم ملك فمنهم ملك ومنهم شيطان يخرج الحي من الميت فالخليل من آزر ذي الكفران ويخرج الميت من الحي فمن نوح كالنعان جرى قدره فكفر أبو طالب وأسلم عثمان وضل أبو لهب وأذن لبلال في الأذان يفني ويبقي يسعد ويشقي كل يوم هو في شان. We see the poetic introduction. It says, praise to Allah who has favored man over the rest of creation, and among them He has favored the people of piety and faith. He then made the heart of the point of His creation, or the point of His concern, and not the physical figure. He looks to the serenity of the inner, and not to the purity of one's color. He brought about differences among the human race. Amongst them are those who are like angels, and those who are like devils. فَمِنْهُمْ مَلَكٌ, this is a malak, and then we have a shaitan. He brings forth the living from the dead, and thus Ibrahim al-Khalil emerged from Azar, the disbeliever. Likewise, He brings forth the dead from the living, thus Canaan emerged from Nuh, in accordance with the decree of Allah. Abu Talib disbelieved, and Uthman accepted Islam. And Abu Lahab went astray, and Bilal was the one authorized to perform the call to prayer. He causes some to perish, and others to remain. He makes some to be content, and others wretched. Every day He has a matter to bring forth. أحمده إذ أنم وصان عدد الأوراق والأغصان وأقر بوحدانيته إقرار يصدر عن برهان وأصلي على رسوله محمد أشرف مخلوق وجد وكان وعلى صاحب أبي بكر الصديق الذي انفرد بنصره في الغار وعانه وعلى عمر الفاروق المتشدد في الدين فمالان وعلى التقي النقي عثمان بن عفان وعلى علي بن أبي طالب مقدم العلماء وسيد الشجعان وعلى عمه العباس بن عبد المطلب المستسقي بشيبته فأقبل السحة والهتان جد سيدنا مولانا الإمام المستضي بأمر الله أمير المؤمنين الذي أشرق بولاية الزمان سقي زرع العدل مياه الفضل فالدنيا في أيامه بستان فذكره في مسام مشام الصالحين أزكى من ريح وريحان وقلوبهم متعلقة بحبه وحب الخلق لحب الخالق عنوان إلى آخره. He says, I praise him frequently like the leaves and the twigs, for he protects and safeguards us. And the list goes on to his introduction. He says, أما بعد فإني رأيت جماعة من أخيار الحبشان تنكسر قلوبهم لأجل اسوداد الألوان فعلمتهم أن الاعتبار بالإحسان لا بالسور الحسان ووضعت لهم هذا الكتاب في ذكر فضل خلق كثير من الحبش والسودان وقد قسمته 28 بابا والله المستعان. Look at the flow, huh? He's flowing. He says, to proceed, I bore witness to a group of eminent Abyssinian who were disheartened due to the darkness of their skin color. I thus clarified to them that the matter upon which consideration is placed is good deeds rather than one's appearance. And I wrote this book for them to mention the virtue of many from amongst the Abyssinian and black people. I've divided into 28 chapters, and with Allah, aid is sought. So he wrote the book similar to the reason why the people made what? Black History Month. And which people that were trodden upon, stomped down upon, raped, murdered, they were hanged, they were oppressed, they were wronged. So therefore, it pushed them to feeling and believing that they're inferior and that they're less than human, etc., etc., etc. And many Muslims, we still suffer from this to this day. And we talked about this before. It's not the first time we mentioned this. Al-Muhim, he wrote the book because many people in Iraq and Baghdad were looked at as being inferior because of no other reason, not their intelligence, they don't have strength, they're not good warriors, they're not good weavers or crafters, but they have dark skin because of melanin, because they have wide noses and big lips, or thin lips or pointy noses, whatever they look like, but they're dark skinned. So therefore they're automatically inferior and subservient to Arabs who have olive color skin, wheat color skin, fair Arabs, those mixed, those who aren't really Arabs. There's a long discussion of who is an Arab. And are Arab people white? Are Arab people even fair skin? That's a historical what? Debate. And you see the concept of what the people thought and saw about someone that was fair skinned. The narration when the Sahabi accidentally put the ayn on the other Sahabi because he said what? Ma'arun A2, he says, I never saw skin this fair. Not even a virgin girl kept inside of her home, outside of the sun. So the concept of an Arab person that we see on television, or is that an actual Arab person? That's pale white skin. Is that a true Arab person? That's a long historical discussion. Al-Muhim, someone who has brown skin, wheat color skin, is not like someone who has what? Rich, dark, black skin. Everybody understand this? Let alone the concept of ancestry. Even if your skin is lighter than mine, I'm darker than you, I'm from this country and you're from that country. So he wrote the book to combat the thoughts and the whispers of shaitan that had fallen into the hearts of these Abyssinian people and these African people, regardless of the reason why they were in Iraq. Muslims, slaves, eunuchs, warriors, and the list goes on. Everyone understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So in the chapter or the contents, the author, he talks about and mention of the origin of black people, where they come from, the cause of their darkness and color, and mention of Isa ibn Maryam bringing Ham ibn Nuh back to life, and mention of the kingdoms of black people and their vastness, and mention of the virtues ingrained in black people, virtues specific to things of black color amongst animals, plants, and stones, and proclamation that the white person has no superiority over the black, and that superiority lies in piety, and mention of those from amongst the companions who embraced or immigrated to Abyssinia and their number. Very important piece of history now. The first people to support the Muslims were what? Were Africans. Don't forget that. Not even the Arabs. It was the Africans. They were the first people to say, you can come and live as Muslims. It says here, the request of the Quraysh to An-Najashi to hand over the companions of the Prophet ﷺ to them. And mention of that which the Prophet wrote to An-Najashi, inviting him to Islam and of his conversion. And mention of coming of the Abyssinians to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ and their war game in the masjid whilst the Prophet ﷺ watched. and mention of words in the Quran which confirm with the Abyssinian language, and mention of what the Messenger of Allah heard of the Abyssinian language and how he was impressed, and mention of the Abyssinians being singled out for the call to the prayer, those of whom it has been said that they were prophets from amongst the black people, and mention of major kings of the Habash, and mention of the esteemed blacks amongst the companions, and mention of the noble black women from the female companions, and mention of the illustrious scholars from amongst the black people, and mention of their poets, and those amongst them who recited some poetry to express a meaning, and mention of a group of discerning, intelligent, and generous black men and women, and mention of the worshippers and ascetics among the black people, and mention of the worshippers from amongst the women of the black people, and mention of those who preferred black bond maidens to white ones, those who loved them, and those who died due to their love. You can find a similarity there in America with the concept of mulatto, mixed race. Why people are light-skinned and look like this and look like that is what? It's a reason why. He says here, in mention of the sons of the Habashi women from Quraysh, an exhortation and counsel, words of remembrance and glorification of Allah, and then supplications. So I don't think there's any doubt every American should have this book, should read this book, whether you're black or whether you're not black, whether you come from Palestine or South Philly or North Philly or wherever you come from, wherever you live. Very, very, very interesting work. And Allah knows best. Perhaps a book like this will be a means behind your father being a Muslim, or your mother accepting Islam, or your grandmother accepting Islam, in light of what they see and what they hear and what they think. And then you read this book of an Arab scholar, that may what? Soften someone's heart to the deen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.
Initials KA, London, UK. Please inform us of the wisdom behind black and yellow.
Tayyib. K, what's the initials?
KA.
KA. Please inform us of the wisdoms behind black and yellow. One of those wisdoms, two of my favorite colors. I like black and yellow. And I like the way they look. I like the way that they're combined. And of course, they stand for many things. Different things they symbolize. But one of the main reasons and wisdoms is two of my favorite colors. And I think they go very well together. And I think the HadithDisciple, the logo, and the color combination is what? At least is unique. That's the least we can say. Stand out. Wallahu alam. Now I'm Khalid. Tayyib.
Initials NH, Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Thank you for helping us follow the sunnah. May Allah accept and reward you in this life and the next with all forms of good. Can I wipe over my Uggs or does it have to be over my socks?
Tayyib. May Allah bless you as well. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From Toronto. Can I wipe over my Uggs or does it have to be over my socks? You wake up early in the morning, whether you made witr or qiyam layl, whatever you did, you went back to sleep, you slept. You broke your wudu through sleep. You passed the wind, you used the bathroom, you urinated, whatever, and you broke your wudu. Now you wake up in the morning and you make the wudu for fajr. Or you make a ghusl for janaba. Al-muhim, you make purification. You washed your toes, your digits. You dried your feet off, put on your lotion or your oil, whatever. You put your socks on. You walked around. Then you put on your Uggs and you went outside. And you left your house for fajr. And all day you were going and you were wearing your Uggs. So, you made wudu on your feet, your skin, at 6 a.m. It's now 12 p.m. Do I have to take off my Uggs or wipe off my socks or. As long as you put on your socks and you didn't pass wind, you put on your Uggs, you prayed, everything's good, you can wipe over your Uggs all the way up until 6 a.m. of the next morning. If you take off your Uggs, you go into the masjid, your wudu is not broken. And the list goes on. Clear, inshallah? Wallahu alam.
Initials AR, New York, New York. Assalamu alaikum. Do you have any advice for the Muslims?
Advice for the Muslims? Yeah.
No.
New Muslims? Seek knowledge. My 3 golden rules are good company. Seek knowledge. Slow and easy. Get good company. Read, study, listen to lectures, and take it slow and easy. Those are my 3 golden rules for a new shahada. Wallahu alam.
Initials OO, London, UK. Advice for teaching young kids tajweed.
Teaching young children tajweed, make it as easy as you possibly can for them. Don't overburden them. The tajweed doesn't have to be super perfect unless the children have the natural ability to get it. Some brothers say that's a sin, ya akhi. And of course, the sin isn't the sod. There's no doubt. There's no khilaf about that, Khalid. Sin is not a sod. The ta is not a ta. All right, but there is a balance in what everything in his extremism can be fall into what and everything. So if you have a talented young child, shoot for the moon, reach for the stars. Someone that's struggling, someone that can't focus that much, you give them the best way you can. Okay, and allow them to make hifd with the best tajweed that they possibly can. What's important is take it slow, take it easy, all right, inshallah, and move at the pace of the child with a gentle push. Wallahu alam.
Initial OS Country Club Hill, Illinois. Can zakat al-fitr be paid in cash? What if one can't find anyone to keep the food?
Inshallah, zakat al-fitr can be paid in cash. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. The scholars, they have a long discussion and argument on this, and we are of the school of thought is that it's permissible to pay zakat al-fitr in money. Wallahu alam.
Initials KA in the UK. Does listening to Arabic lectures have more of an impact in regards to learning the language compared to reading, writing, etc.?
No element is superior. There's no superior element. Water, fire, earth, wood, wind, etc. All the elements. No element is superior. Reading it, writing it, listening to it, it's all the same. Combine all of them together, inshallah. If you're naturally more inclined to one of those, then stick to that. But don't abandon the other things. So, a person says, when I walk down the street with my headphones, I'm driving, I'm in the supermarket, I benefit so much by listening to the Quran, by listening to lectures. I retain it subconsciously, alhamdulillah. But it doesn't mean you abandon writing, and it doesn't mean you abandon reading, and it doesn't mean you abandon saying it yourself. So all of the elements are to be combined. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Wallahu alam.
Initials MD Atlanta, Georgia. Should we question the meat of the Christians in the United States in 2020?
Questioning the meat of the Christians in 2020, I don't think you should question it. I think that the default is that the meat is not slaughtered properly. That is the asl. Okay, I think we need to realize a bit of reality and a wake-up call here. We're not living on some type of farm with some religious, God-fearing, adhering Christians that stick to the scripture, the gospel, the church, the teachings. We're dealing with a secular, liberal society in which people say that they're Christians and only go to church one day out of the week, if that. How they dress does not reflect the teachings of Christ. What they do, and the list goes on. So what makes you think that they're just going to suddenly stumble, trip upon a sharp knife across the animal's throat? Come on, guys. They have Christmas trees planted in their homes. Wigs and this and that, how they dress, what they do. What makes you think they want to stick to the proper way of slaughtering an animal and everything else is changed and altered? It's just not being honest. It's not being honest. So therefore, the asl of the meat, and Allah knows best in the modern world today, in most cases is what? Machine. The animal is being tortured or treated like this, etc. So that's the default, in my humble opinion, from my studies. So try your best to find that which is halal correctly, kosher correctly. And if you find Christians in which is a hand slaughtered, you find Christians that actually kill the animal the right way, then that's a total different story. Bismillah. Wallahu alam.
Initial SA Ottawa, Canada. Are the podcasts available?
Podcasts. I have to, bidnillahi ta'ala, speak to some volunteers with regards to continuing the podcast. I had a few people request and also complain. If anyone wishes to volunteer for the podcast, then bidnillahi ta'ala, they can send an email to muftihadith@gmail.com. Inshallah, we'll try to get back with you, see if it's suitable to volunteer to make the podcast. Bidnillah.
Salmon, how do I say his last name? Salmon M, Toronto, Canada. Does a student need to reach a certain level before they may begin writing their own books or explanation? And if so, what is this level?
Next question.
Initial JA Philadelphia PA. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Is it prohibited to protest an Islamic school who has done wrong to the children and the administration refuses to do anything about it?
To protest? Right. Question with regards to an Islamic school, a child was wronged or someone was wronged. Is it permissible to speak up or be boisterous about it, etc.? Enjoin the good and forbid the evil. and be jealous upon children, not just your child. All right, so today it's your child. Whether they said something bad about your child's race or your child's hair, or they gave her bad grades, or they hit your child, whatever is wrong and bad, it's much bigger than just your child. If you allow that principle to think that they can get away with it, talking about people's backgrounds, you Arab people are nasty and dirty. Get out of my school, get out of my classroom. Arabs are dumb compared to black people. Or you black people are nasty and dirty compared to Arabs. All right? Or making a comment about a young girl's body, a middle school child. Oh, your body is like, they think they can get away with it. They're going to do it to another child. And they're going to wrong someone else. And they're going to oppress someone else. They're going to disrespect someone else. So it's not okay. It's not okay. And لا يتسمح في مثل هذه الأشياء. There's no leniency here. And that's because once a person does something, they become more and more confident in doing it to someone else. And that's how a cycle starts and begins. That's how a cycle starts and begins. And playing with a child's life is not a joke. And Allah knows best.
During Salah, while reciting, we have to ponder over each ayah.
Where you been, Akhi? It's been a long time since we heard from you. Right, Khalid? He's been a live stream every night. That was clear, right? Where you been, Akhi? Pondering over the Quran is of different levels. For you to stop and make a critical reflection on every ayah in the Salah is not mandatory. Wallahu a'lam.
What should teachers never say to a young student?
What should a teacher never say to a young student? Wallahi, it all depends on the student. The general rule is you should never say nothing negative. Because the student, inshallah, is a Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ says, لَعْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ كَقَتْلِهِ. Cursing a believer is like killing a believer. So you should never hurt a Muslim's feelings unnecessarily. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say nasty, bad things to a Muslim, to harm any Muslim. Okay? You shouldn't make your student lose confidence and lose hope. You're nothing. You're a failure. You're trash. Okay? Your recitation is trash. Your khutbah is trash. You'll never amount to what? Anything. When I was your age, I did it 20 times better. I understood faster. You shouldn't say these things. But sometimes some students, what? They may need a little gentle what? Kick. Yeah. Everyone understand this? So what's important is you have to know the nature of your student. Some students need to be pushed. It's reality. Some students need gentle, kind words. All right? So the good teacher is he who knows how to blend, how to mix it. And one of the principles that specialists say about child education and child discipline is to diversify your techniques and never allow the child to become bored and to know what you're going to say to them. I did this wrong. Abby's going to come home. He's going to holler at me. He's going to beat me. He's going to punish me. And then that's it. Next. I'll be off punishment in a day. He'll calm down. He'll holler at me. He'll call me a bad name and that's it. And they keep doing the bad thing. So keeping them off balance. You don't know what you're going to do or say to them. The same applies to a student. So you have to know how to encourage the student. Do it like this. You sound good when you say this. You have to learn how to intimidate the student. Don't do that again. Don't say that again. Don't disrespect your teacher like that or this one like that again. And sometimes you have to learn how to challenge the pupil. And you have to learn how to bring the best out of the what? To bring the best out of the pupil. And most important, you brothers, you may laugh at this one, but it's true. I'm sorry. And don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Especially if you have kids. You got to know that every student is different and you can't teach every student the same way. We learned this from that movie, Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda. If you have kids, you know about Kung Fu Panda. Some grown brothers know about Kung Fu Panda. So they're saying, why is he quoting Kung Fu Panda on the live stream? Astaghfirullah, a'udhu billah. But we know that what? Your son watched the movie. And you watched the movie. All right? We know this. So the concept of Kung Fu Panda, Po, big, fat, dumb panda bear, right? Was picked to be the dragon warrior. In front of tigress, in front of monkey, in front of snake, in front of. The mantis, right? That's the stereotype of what the dragon warrior is supposed to be. Right? But it was fate for Po to be picked. Master Shifu was furious. He was incensed. How can this fat, dumb panda be the dragon warrior? Right? And Oogway told him, relax. It's qadar, it's fate that he came here. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. Right? So he tried to teach him. Of course, he was big, he was fat, he was lazy, he was stupid, he was silly, and he was simple. That's a tremendous lesson, and they put in that movie now. A tremendous lesson. So, the Grandmaster Shifu, who trained so many Dragon Warriors before, was frustrated because of his lack of enthusiasm to learn, his lack of ability to learn. He was big as fat as a panda bear, right? So before Uwei left and died, he made his friend to make him a promise. He said, make a promise, Shifu. Promise me that you'll be patient and that you'll nurture and you'll bring the plum or the peach from the tree. Promise me. Look at that. That's my last dying words, is that you won't give up and you won't quit on him. He is the Dragon Warrior. Shifu couldn't believe, but he made a promise and he kept his promise. And then as time went on, he figured and he realized that he wasn't the tiger, he wasn't the mantis, he wasn't the snake, he wasn't the monkey, he wasn't Tai Long, he wasn't this one and that one, right? He was a big fat panda, right? But the big fat panda had an ability and had a talent. And a way to hack and to tap into that raw talent was through food. And he realized that all of this time, I was mistaken. Trying to teach you like what? Like them. I have to teach you through food. And once he got the dumpling, and he learned how to teach him, and how to get him to be encouraged by food, look what happened and look what he did. It's a life lesson. So if your kids are watching cartoons, your kids are on Netflix, your kids are watching this, you have a big gigantic TV screen in your house, all right? Your kids are on the internet, at least get some benefit from it. That's the point that we're trying to get across. And not promoting for you to watch the movie or this and that, but we're just trying to be honest and real right now. So a good teacher, the master teacher, is the one who knows that this student is not like what? That student is different. Other student before, he would have been memorized this. He would have been said this. He would have been doing this. But he's what? He's different. So now I have to step up to the challenge and teach him in a different manner. And if not, the blame is upon what? The teacher. Everyone understand this? So every student is not the same. People have different abilities, different talents, different mindsets. The master teacher knows how to pick and select what person for what job and how to train someone. You don't need to read the 10 books that I taught him. You only need 5 books. You need to start with this kitab. We're going to start off with this book. We're not going to learn Nukhbat al-Fikr. We're going to start right off with this book because of the different student. So it's a very important concept, guys. All right? Is to learn the form, but what? Seek the formless. In learning and in teaching. Allahu alam.
Omar H., Los Angeles, California. How do you increase khushu' in Salah?
How to increase khushu' in the Salah. You can go back to the first 5 minutes of Fayda, the episode that we did. Brother Azhar Hussein, he explained that. And we've done other khutbahs on it as well. We spoke on the, if you want a khutbah off the top of my head, the Brady Bunch. We did outside of Boston a few years back. You go back to the playlist and find that khutbah called the Brady Bunch, in which we spoke about how, or one of the ways of obtaining good khushu'. And from that is to avoid and to minimize idle talk before the prayer. And that's because Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, the believers are successful. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, those who have khushu'. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ, and those who turn away from laghu, from base speech, even if it's not haram. Scholars of Islam, they say min asrari hadhihi surah wa hadhihi al-ayat, from the secrets of this chapter and of these verses, as that Allah mentioned success, khushu' and laghu. Alright? Meaning that he who makes an abundance of laghu before the prayer, in most cases is not going to have the khushu' in the salah. Or he who makes an abundance of laghu after the salah, the next salah is not going to what? Have it. So pre-game, post-game. What are you doing before the prayer? What are you thinking about? What are you talking about? What are you mentally preparing yourself to do? Versus, oh, it's time to pray. Let me pray. I got to pray. And then right back to whatever you were doing. So prepare yourself mentally. Also from the ways of learning and obtaining higher khushu' in the salah is learn the virtue of khushu'. And Allah loves the khashi'een. And He has praised them and He has lauded them. So learn the virtue of a thing to inspire you to get that thing. Secondly, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, or thirdly, is for you to learn the Arabic language and learn the tafsir of the Quran. Because when you hear it, you understand what's meant by Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamidahu. What's meant by that? What's the secret behind that language? It allows you to have better khushu'. And last but not least, is to remind yourself of who you're standing in front of. Wallahu alam.
Omar H., Los Angeles, California. Can you pass wind while making wudu and continue making wudu, or do you have to start from the beginning?
No. If you pass wind while making wudu, you have to start from the beginning. Wallahu alam.
Ismail H. from Boston, Mass. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can you give advice for ridding yourself of arrogance? I have been trying for a long time.
Advice with regards to ridding yourself from arrogance. You have been trying for a long time. First of all, is to keep trying. Keep trying. Don't give up. There is no limit or cap on the struggle. The struggle within. There's no time period in which, you've fought long enough. Abadan. So, learn about Allah Azza wa Jal, His names, His attributes. Learn about the secrets of those names and attributes that Allah has given us. And realize that whatever quality you try to obtain, Allah Azza wa Jal has greater. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Allah is the greatest description, the greatest characteristic, and the greatest quality. You learned something so you think you're smarter than someone? You're physically stronger than someone? I look better than you? Etc., etc., etc. I have more money than you? Etc., etc., etc. That's nothing in comparison to Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Okay? فَلَا تَضْرِبُوا لِلَّهِ الْأَمْثَالِ. Alright? So the concept of learning Allah's names and attributes is to make you humble. It's to make you humble and realize that you're nothing in the universe, to be honest. You're nothing but one human being. And Allah knows best.
Initials IA, Philadelphia, PA. O children of Adam, take your adornment at every masjid and eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, He likes not those who commit excess. Quran 7:13. Because of this ayah, is it wajib to wear a thobe or kufi or something similar to the masjid?
With regards to the ayah, Jazakallahu khairan, that you've mentioned from the 7th chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-A'raf, with regards to Allah Azza wa Jal commanding the children of Adam to take their adornment. عند كل مسجد, alright, every time that they offer prayer. Is it obligatory to wear a kufi or a thobe? No. You don't have to wear a kufi. And you don't have to wear a thobe. And that's because there are many authentic hadith that explain, and you understand that verse in light of those hadith on which the Prophet and the companions prayed and their heads were uncovered. And they didn't wear thobes. But you do have to cover the basic part of your awrah. So there are levels of akhdhu zina, or al-akhdhu biz-zina. There are levels of it. There's a perfected level, there's a standard level, etc. There are levels of it. A Muslim male does not have to cover his head when he prays, and he does not have to wear a thobe. You can pray in pants, as if the pants are loose, and if your shirt is long enough. You do not have to pray in a specific cultural garment. You don't have to wear a thobe. It's not obligatory. If you prefer to, alhamdulillah. And perhaps that's best for you. And that's what I would recommend you to do. But it's not obligatory. Wallahu alam.
Initial EM, Adelaide, South Australia. A father accepted me marrying his daughter, but his family, who wears no hijab and no salah, and some worship graves, threatened him to marry his daughter to their sons. We have good aqidah and we are compatible. Everything was good and is good, but now he is punishing his daughter for this matter while still not rejecting me. What is your advice?
Tight. I want to make sure I understand it correctly. This is a bit confusing. So the father allowed you, he says, you can have my daughter, but the rest of the family said no. Correct? From the question, Abdul? From the Zahid, right? The father allowed, he gave his blessing. But the family who worships graves or who doesn't, they said no, right?
Yeah.
And now the father is punishing the daughter?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Maybe the father's under pressure from the family members, the wife and the grandmother, Allahu alam. Al-Muhim, at the end of the day, the father has the trump card. He has the strongest card in this card game. If he allows you to marry his daughter, that's the final say. Khalas. So if the father has allowed you, what's the other problem? Is the father scared or afraid or some type of favor that they have over him or some dirt on him that they want to exploit? Why is the father scared of the rest of the family member if he is allowed? My advice to you is to don't be brash. Don't be hasty. Don't give up and don't be too anxious. Just have sabr. Make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Give sadaqah. Do the right thing. Ask Allah to remove the difficulty from the situation. And inshallah ta'ala, you'll see that things will open up. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Speak to your local imam, or speak to another family member that doesn't worship graves, someone that's older than you and has more knowledge, and get him to talk to the father and explain, inshallah, the benefit and the compatibility between you and the girl, his daughter, and not to worry about the people and be afraid of the people and be mindful of the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said, إِذَا أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. When someone comes to you, a good suitor, his good religion, good character, then make him marry him off. And if you don't do so, there will be fasadun fil ardi, or fitna, there will be fitna and fasad in the earth, in the land. All right? Okay? So, at the end of the day, if the father approves, he should stand on that approval and find out why he's afraid or why he's reneging in light of the rest of the family. Get someone to talk to him. Take an in-between, inshallah, a middleman. Wallahu alam.
Initials AS London UK. How should one deal with a brother-in-law that threatens you with violence and has caused many fights in the family? They have been advised many times, but nothing is changing for 2 years.
A brother-in-law that's violent or impulsive, aggressive, they've advised him, nothing has changed, etc. Make dua for him, for Allah to soften his heart and to remove any pain or trauma that he's suffering from. Because in most cases, someone that's angry and violent and impulsive is suffering. We say hurt people, hurt people. Hurt people, hurt people in most cases. So make dua that person's suffering is removed. Because in most cases, they're suffering on the inside. All right? Also, try to be kind to that person. Give him a gift. Buy him something. Take him somewhere. Say a good word to him. Even if he barks or growls at you. Idfa' billati hiya ahsanu sayyi'ah. Allah says, throw the good towards the bad. Now, when I was younger, I used to play baseball. And I never played softball. I played hardball. And of course, there's a big difference between hardball and softball. The ball is smaller, and they obviously call it hard ball. It's a hard ball. And I've been hit before. It hurts a great deal to get hit by a pitch. It's very, very, very painful. So you have someone on a mound standing some feet away from you, hurling a small, tiny rock at you. Your only defense is what? It's to swing back. It's the hit. So you're not helpless. You have a bat. You have a piece of wood that you can swing and send the ball back. So that's what you have to do. Fight fire with fire. But this bat or this fire is husna. It's goodness. Don't stoop down to their level. Don't say bad things. Don't fight. Don't threaten them. Be nice. Be kind. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as the Quran says, فَإِذَا يعني perhaps the one between you and him is adawa, will become a friend to you. Kill him softly, as we say. Kill him softly. Don't feed into him. And if that doesn't work, if he can't be killed softly, then turn away from him. Don't fight back. Avoid contact with that person if you have to. But don't spew venom back at him. Don't fight him. Don't challenge him, because that's only going to make things worse. And that's not going to make things better. Wallahu alam.
Initial AB, Toronto, Ontario. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is the ruling of hanging out with siblings by playing video games, movies, etc., as they are not on a certain level of ilm/sunnah yet?
Tayyip. Hanging out with family members who play video games, so on and so forth. If the video game is haram, then of course it's a problem. If the video game isn't a haram, then limit it. Not all day you play the video game with your friends or family members, but we sit for a little bit. Not bad. Some downtime. Okay, you can't expect those people to be in the mosque all day, reading Bukhari all day. It's just not going to happen. And alhamdulillah, they're playing video games instead of smoking weed or watching porn or doing all types of other haram stuff that young people do or older people do. So you have to be realistic, all right, in this situation here. Okay, give them dua from time to time. Abdullah Mas'ud radiallahu anhu narrated inside Bukhari and others, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتخولنا بالموعظة مخافة السآمة علينا. He says the Prophet ﷺ would admonish us from time to time. And that's because he never ever wanted to wear us out. He never want us to be worn out. All right? So be gentle, be kind, give advice from time to time. Don't pour it all on them all at once. Don't force them. And if you have to play video games that are halal or some type of sport that's halal and it's limited and it's not all day, every day, khairan inshallah. Khairan inshallah. Allahu alam.
Initials MZU, Birmingham, UK. ما حكم الاستمناء باليد?
Repeat the initials, please.
MZU.
MZU. طيب. أما فيما يتعلق بحكم الاستمناء باليد فمسألة مختلف فيها بين العلماء قديما وحديثا. والذي ننصح به والابتعاد عنه، البعد عن الاستمناء مهما كان، سواء قلنا بالجواز أو قلنا بالكراهة أو قلنا بالتحريم أو قلنا يجوز في حالة الضرورة والمشقة الشديدة الغير المحتملة. ابتعد عن الاستمناء، ليس فيه خير، ابتعد عنه، وقد يجرك إلى مشاكل وإلى مصائب وإلى طامات لا تدركها الآن ولا تتصور وقوعها اليوم، فابتعد عن الاستمناء. لكن يعني أمانة، يعني الأمانة العلمية العلماء اختلفوا في هذا الشيء، حتى بعض السلف أجازه وسوغه، ومنهم من قال بالتحريم ومنهم من قال بالجواز في حالة الضرورة. الاستمناء باليد خير من الوقوع في الزنا. طيب، ومن أهل العلم لكن نقول الآن الاستمناء باليد استمناء مجردا عن النظر في المحرم. أنت الآن تستمني بيدك أكرمك الله ولا تنظر إلى الإباحيات، يعني إلى الأشياء الخليعة في الإنترنت، هذا شيء. أما الاستمناء المصاحب المقترن بالنظر إلى الفواحش عبر الإنترنت فتلك مسألة أخرى، تلك مسألة أخرى، وما أظن عالما يجيز ذلك، أن تنظر إلى الحرام وتسمع الحرام وتستمني بيدك. أما الاستمناء الغير المصاحب لهذه الأشياء الخبيثة فتلك مسألة إيش؟ مختلف فيها. ومن أهل العلم من صنف في الموضوع كالإمام الشوكاني رحمه الله تعالى، ومن المعاصرين من صنف في الموضوع كالشيخ مقبل رحمه الله تعالى. نعم، وتجد الكلام يعني في المصنفات، مصنف عبد الرزاق، تجد كلام السلف في مسألة الاستمناء. والله تعالى أعلم. أنصحك بالابتعاد عنه ابتعادا كليا، والله أعلم. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد.